Yeah, so I'm again Addict, PR chair for on the regional level for South Africa. Before I start, I just want to say for all the Irish guys, I'm officially an uncle. My sister lives in Ireland, in Dublin, and I'm officially an uncle. It's quite exciting. Previously, my at Addict days, my sister didn't speak to me for a while, like more than 2-3 years at a time. So it's quite, the gifts of recovery. And I thought I'll mention that. So if I stop in Ireland, I'll be more than glad to visit a meeting up there and visit all the Irish guys. Cool. Right, so just back to South Africa. So I was asked to do our social media bit. So we are quite extensive in our social media. And we believe that, going forward in terms of the way the world is changing and the access to information, we believe that we can connect, with the still suffering addict and growing the fellowship digitally. Everyone's on their mobile phones. People seek help, particularly a lot now on Facebook, and I'll go through that. So we hold various campaigns. We've just now, we've got, the various social medias is on Facebook, Instagram. I mean, we are out now on LinkedIn in terms from a professional perspective. Our radio PSAs, and beyond in terms of members in the public and how we actually give awareness. We also involved from a government perspective, where we help the government in terms of statistical data and institutions and such, and how we get the information out there and where we lead the members to reach NA. So there's lots of things that we do: YouTube, TV, PSAs. We're quite active on our website. We've done podcasts. We started podcasts right now, and quite a lot of video initiatives that we've, particularly within the context of NA and what we're about, and directly from literature. So our primary purpose, it's about recovery, and it's about pushing, directing, an addict, a still suffering addict, to contact NA and get them to their first meeting. It's about recovery and pointing them in the right direction, that, get to your first meeting. And that's generally where it starts. We try to avoid treatment, pushing them to treatment centers. It's on a case-by-case basis, where, NA is the recovery, and it should start from there. And then beyond that, it's a personal, individual member that they, check themselves into a treatment center if it didn't work for them. But, from a point of view that when we show ourselves in public, we have to show that NA works, and it does, And so if we look at the traction that we've gathered in terms of our social media strategy, we have like 4,500. That's actually it's quite old. I think it's about 3-4 months old. I'll get the new statistics if everyone wants it, but I think we've grown significantly since then. And we reached, 51K, by a specific post. And when we look at LinkedIn, while we do have, from a public perspective, and we look at professionals, and LinkedIn is more targeted towards professionals, medical, healthcare, media, HR, wellness, education, and government. So we do have surveys that we do, and particularly it is anonymous surveys that we send out to members. It's non-identifiable information that we do collect. And this really assists us with, passing this type of information to government. And what we found was that we had quite a good reach on LinkedIn from a professional perspective, and we had HR, wellness organizations actually contacting us to learn more, about the NA as a non-profit organization and what we actually do for that. So this is quite a good traction. We've got 3,000 connections, and most of that, about 60 to 70% of that of the contacts that we do have actually reached out to us, inquiring more about, they either in corporate environments and they're struggling, so it's quite good awareness-driven campaign there. So I'm quite new in the region, PR region. I've started my, this around in January, from the 1st of January, or technically December. But so I was in PR Johannesburg, which is the area. And Johannesburg is kind of like, when we look at it, it's the business hub in South Africa. So there's quite a lot of, if you look at it from a metropolitan, it's quite diverse and, a lot of, and it's quite big, so there's quite a lot of traction in Johannesburg, and that filters down to the rest of the other areas like Cape Town, Durban, Pretoria, if you guys are familiar with the areas. And so we are sort of like, we set this tone, and then, the rest of the areas follow. So whatever works in Johannesburg tend to kind of passes down, and it's trial and error into the other areas. And it's, so we like sort of the testing grounds for that. So back in 2021, so this was initiative driven while I was PR chair, had a good team. So we had video animations that we launched and then we passed on to social media. So there's internal and external. So the external is more driven towards the public, making them more aware and giving the phone numbers out and who to contact, how to get involved. The internal ones is more about, driving more about NA within for internal members, but it's directly linked to what's in the literature. So it's sort of animations that explain a certain context, like for example, getting a sponsor or doing service, or what is a specific tradition about. So it gives an explanation as an animation that makes it more interactive and more entertaining, and hopefully more understandable. So we only pass the internal ones internally between members, and that's over across WhatsApp groups and within private pages and such. The internal one doesn't go out in public because it can confuse a newcomer. So it's only for external ones where we say it in a way that a newcomer can understand it in public and bring it in. Podcasts, we launched a monthly podcast series where we speak to members, and this is obviously passed internally. And yeah, it's about shares, driving that initiative, trying something new, talking about it, giving a real life perspective in terms of their recovery in the program. And if you're thinking about how we actually run this, it's very strict in terms of, how, it's not really scripted, but we do have requirements in terms of how many years you need to be clean, understand the steps, the traditions, and then talk around your recovery and what you can say on a podcast, because we don't want people's anonymity to be broken, and we want to stick really to the traditions in terms of how we run that. PR webinars are very actively involved in that. We tend to have a webinar like once quarterly. We get area involved, and we get group level involved, and to understand how they do, if members are on Facebook, how do they deal with the public from a Facebook perspective? How do they protect their anonymity and their fellow members' anonymity without tagging and such? So we run that, we create the awareness around that. And then obviously the social media, we have various areas managing their own respective pages. We do have guidelines and and how to actually run that. I'll go over this very quickly in my next couple of slides. Poster runs, that's been really, quite good in terms of, the areas that we have. We get GSRs involved to put the posters up. And then on that, we've put in all the social media icons, on the posters. Say, go to this Instagram, or if you want to see more videos, or go to whatever Facebook page, or whatever the case may be. I won't touch on the new meetings. So I spoke about the podcasts and video animations. You can find them on our South Africa, some of the content on the South Africa region YouTube page. And you can see the type of sort of content we sort of pushing out there as awareness. Yeah, so that's what we've been busy with. We found that central to the social media is our website, right? We want to push people to the central is the website. We have our sort of Instagram, Facebook, and social media links connected on the website, and we try to push them to online meetings, physical meetings. That's everything's listed, and it's updated quite regularly. Yeah, so I think that's the start, and then we push content onto the various social media pages, and it's been doing phenomenally well. So stuff that we like on Facebook, we do have an account where we do we pay to promote the page, but that's from a public perspective. Like, we'll create a flyer for the public to understand what NA is about. And when we look at it, it's always pointing towards the general phone numbers, right? And when you look at anonymity, so we had a big issue where a lot of the members were putting their personal details on these flyers that we're creating. So if there was a new meeting that was open, they would actually put the specific member's phone number on there, which is, you cannot do that because, one, we do have a general number. Two, it's going to confuse the public in terms of, why is this number changing, or why are we contacting someone who is a member but not officially, part of the phone line committee or WhatsApp number that's actually managing it from a general regional perspective. So that's not allowed. So we tend to push them towards the phone, our general phone line, our general WhatsApp number, and we put a blurb around anonymity where we say, if it's an internal flyer or whatever the case may be, we would say, please respect tradition 11 and share only within members and internal groups and such. So when sharing literature, that is public information. So there's always a link back to the page on World website or the local NA website. Pieces of information that's relevant, we share that out. And that's always part of any literature that comes from NOS, NA World Services. And when sharing personal experiences, we add a disclaimer that these are obviously the personal views of members. I'm sure everyone knows that, and not the opinion of NA as a whole. And when in other language, and the language of the sharer at the beginning of the post is Narcotics Anonymous Zulu, so we do make mention that it is, we do have a language committee that looks at each of the various languages that's going out, so that nothing that's, taken out of context, or it is worded correctly within that specific language. So currently we do have 9, or is it 11? 11 languages in South Africa, and we are busy with 6 of them. The 6 of the biggest ones, and it's working. It's getting out there. When we created the posters, we did Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, English, Sesotho, quite a few of them, and quite a few of the members, within the specific areas came and grabbed, we literally finished our posters. So there's quite a big need for the different languages to get out there. So that's what we did. And then, yeah, so the images, it's quite from the general rules of Facebook that we use, because once you put too much text, it doesn't really work on Facebook, they decline it. Yeah, so in terms of adverts, social media is a pay to play. I've mentioned in terms of how we promoting the ads. We don't like the word promote, but creating awareness. But unfortunately, to get ourselves out there, that's how Facebook works, right? So we do pay to promote this for these ads. So when we reach like 10,000 likes, less than 5% of our audience will see the post, and unless you promote them. So social media algorithms do this. So that's why we do have the pay for ads thing that we do. In terms of targeting from a social media perspective, when setting up the ads, we keep our region in mind, that everyone has a potential to be an addict or know an addict. So, if you know someone, so we don't really need to fine tune for a specific audience beyond that area that they are in. So it keeps it simple, in terms of how we target, and it saves on costs in terms of when we do the adverts and such. Yeah, so region only target areas that have existing fellowships and exclude areas that don't have any real base there, unless there's a request for help to grow those specific meetings in that area. So some areas really do well, you know, and pushing out into those areas makes no sense cost-wise, but also, you know, from getting out there time-wise and resources. So unless a specific area comes to us and say, listen, we're struggling, like we have in the township areas within Johannesburg. So we created flyers, and now we're pushing that information out there to say there are meetings open. If you need to go, we'll assist them with that. So region should target everyone in those areas between the ages of 18 and 65. And, you know, this could still reach the still suffering addict. If they see the brand, it becomes recognizable, and the first form of contact from us doesn't have to be unfamiliar. So we sort of, you know, when we put our brand out there, we want to give them that feel that we are very approachable, you know. I know when I first came into the program, I thought it was a government's conspiracy, you know, and then until I started understanding it, and now, because I understand how the program works, we create content in the sense that, you know, we don't make people feel that, you know, we want to make them say that there is recovery, there is hope, and we speak of such, and, you know, we're here to help you, you know, if you're struggling. And we see that areas and see the reach, if it's too far or not too far enough on the map, and we adjust it accordingly. So if you guys are familiar with the targeting, or if you need assistance around that, when you guys doing your Facebook ads, feel free to contact me, and I'll give you a shot. I'll assist you with, around that. So promoting posts, so posts should be promoted for a minimum of 4 days at 100 Rand per cost. I think that's about, what, $10? For some posts may be promoted for longer with higher, if we do have higher budgets. So the budgets come from, obviously in 7th, and we approve the budget from a group level, and everyone votes it in. And then we adjust the budgets accordingly, and then we determine on what we can afford. What is the priority areas? Where do we focus on? You know, and that's how it affects how we actually budget and what the costing is generally. But that's generally what we've been doing based on the votes from the group service areas across those 4 days and such. And we've got, in 4 days, we did get a lot of traction. So it's not to say that, you know, 100 Rands is not going to be much. It does work, you know, and you can see, like, I don't have the statistics on hand, but there's a lot of people contacting us on Facebook Messenger. And we are actually busy in process of putting the Facebook Messenger chat and the WhatsApp chat on the website, so that, you know, it's also quite immediate, and we have someone manning that as well. Yeah, because, you know, sometimes on the WhatsApp or the phone line, I know someone who's managing the WhatsApp may not be there, you know, all the time, like 24/7. So it's quite easier for those on the website team and the Facebook team to actually get this information, and whoever is available at the specific moment are able to guide the member or the newcomer accordingly when they get the message. So likes aren't as important as many people we reach. So we don't care about the likes. We want more people to see and reach. So if the budget doesn't allow it, then don't worry about it. Likes is not sort of an important thing. But also, when you look at the likes perspective, it breaks anonymity, you know, so we sort of kind of manage that. And I'll take you, it's in the next slide, how we manage the, you know, when someone tags someone on Facebook and such, and likes a page because they can see your surname, and, you know, so it sort of breaks it. Promoting the website. So like I said, the website is essential. So our #1 goal is to get people to a meeting and the meeting URL. And this is where our online meetings, offline physical meetings are updated regularly. New meetings are constantly added as well. So this will obviously be changed according to the area that we're promoting when it's not a national ad or promotion. So promoting meetings in a specific area, we promote meetings in the week. And this is something that we don't target at the whole of South Africa. We downscale to smaller areas, and as I mentioned, you know, specific areas that actually need that people to get into those meetings, or high priority areas, and we'll target that.
Now listen, you have about 3 minutes remaining.
Sure. Okay, this is my last slide. Yeah. Cool. And then, so yeah, just as I spoke about, and from a social media perspective, the traditions, we stick closely to our traditions in anything that we put out in the public. And we promote anonymity, where we can't disable tagging, right? But what we can do is we do hide all the public comments made by members to protect anonymity. And this means only their friends will see their comments. No images of members will ever be shared, or no members' posts will be shared on the page. No NA events should be shared on the public, and no online Zoom meeting links would videos shared as available. This is to protect anonymity. The NA events are shared internally on WhatsApp and such. So answering messages, we do not give advice, but rather we suggest people to attend the nearest meeting. And this is where we talk to them on chat, on Facebook chat or WhatsApp chat. And we share the link to meetings in the area. So our main thing is to point them to a meeting. And at times, if they come into an email, what we'll do is we will assist them by telling them which area are you in, and we'll get a group service representative to actually get hold of you and guide you accordingly. And we always direct them to phone line or the WhatsApp line for more assistance. We do not offer advice. But one thing we did do from an area level was to get a professional to come in and guide how they talk to people, because a lot of the guys on the phone line was getting stressed out because people were coming in with suicidal, talking about suicide and such. So they need to understand how to manage that for themselves, and then guide the person accordingly, or the newcomer, and point them to the specific meeting. Yeah, and that's it. That's our social media. We've gained phenomenal traction on social media, and I think this is the way forward in terms of digital. The world is changing, working from home, lockdown, COVID. So, the online meetings really, we really did well. The Zoom meetings, how we coordinated it in South Africa, did phenomenally well. We actually came in with large telecoms companies to give 0-rated services where we have WhatsApp meetings and it's free, midnight meetings and such. Yeah, and that's it. Again, I'm an addict, and that's me as PR region, South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys hear me? Now, we would like to know, does anyone have any questions about social media?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. First of all, Morgan, we're wondering, the PR people here, what is your budget yearly for PR? And then do you have a separate social media breakdown budget?
Yeah, so, okay, let me just pull up the numbers very quickly. I'll tell you what's our proposed budget. All right, so we've got our PR budget is approximately 100,000 rands. I'm not sure how much that works out to US dollars. I think you divide it by 15. You can just do that number quickly. Just give me a second. Okay, so that's about 7,000 US dollars, right? So which is split? It's actually split across advertising. We do have poster runs that we do, and most of the digital social media. I think we allocated, if you say around, let me just see, Facebook adverts came to quite a lot, so 25,000. So roughly 25% of that is social media that we push. So if you look at 7,000, 25% of 7,000 US dollars is about, yeah, you can do the math there, and then the rest obviously will push towards posters, creating posters and printing posters. Those are quite expensive. And then we do have annual PR workshops, annual events that we push through as well. Yeah, so that's kind of like the breakdown that we do. We also have a newsletter that we've pushing out, that we've created. We've been running from the newsletter for quite a couple of years now. And we do have a subscription to TouchBase Pro, It used to be MARLCNA initially. So that's, that's where all the budget also goes towards. Printing, posters, pamphlets, schools, clinics, whatever that, and special projects in terms of websites, ad hoc digital designing. We also contribute to that. So if, for example, website doesn't have enough funds for certain aspects in terms of what they need to do from a digital perspective, PR will actually also jump in. So it varies. And I must say last year, because of lockdown, we hardly spent anything. It was just that 25% that went through to digital. So you can see, like how big digital is and what it plays, and catching guys, members into from a social media perspective. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. Cool. Any other questions? I can share the breakdown for our PR budget so you guys can see what.
I totally have a question about your LinkedIn. I don't know anyone in the US that does LinkedIn. Do you guys have a South African LinkedIn account? How is that done? And I noted that you said you have 3,000 connections on LinkedIn, and they're primary to like medical people and HR. So I'm just wondering, through that account, do you then do push notifications to these people, or what does the LinkedIn connection look like if we were going to do one?
Yeah, so we follow similar principles as when we post on Facebook. We don't generally promote on like sort of adverts on LinkedIn. It's more we take a reactive approach on LinkedIn. We share our details. We do post at times in terms of what Narcotics Anonymous about and South Africa is and such. Our contact details and numbers, and then whoever adds us, they tend to actually message us on LinkedIn from a professional perspective. I've had 2 people from the Department of not education, social development. Sorry, Department of Social Development, who contacted us, and they were looking for specific information around statistics on drug use in South Africa. And then we actually went, and with the Department of Health, provided this type of information so they can actually make better decisions in terms of what their mandates are. Yeah, so that's about it. We are more reactive on LinkedIn than we are on Facebook, if that makes sense. So we're still trying to figure it out because LinkedIn is fairly new. We did come on board last year. We started this last year or the year before. And yeah, of course, we're still trying to figure out the traditions and anonymity and how to approach the LinkedIn stage. But so far, we have been getting some, at least people reach out to us on LinkedIn on a professional level.